How many of you can imagine your life in your retirement years? Exciting thoughts, aren't they? Vacationing, hanging out with the grands, volunteering, doing the things you've always wanted to do. Today, we're going to dive into something deeply personal and profoundly relevant to each one of us. It's a time filled with wisdom, reflection, and the sum of all our experience. It's a time filled with many what-ifs. The fourth quarter is a time we will all face. I want to talk to you about what I've learned in my life and career, about empowering ourselves and our loved ones to make well thought out decisions as we face this stage of life. For example, what if your spouse or close loved one becomes ill and you're the only viable caregiver? Or what if you become ill and unable to care for yourself? Another important what if close to my heart is what if you have to move because you can no longer afford your house? Or you need to move closer to people who can support you in your fourth quarter. What then? How can you prepare for that? I'm on a mission to increase awareness about an array of what-if scenarios that we should be discussing now. In our communities, in our professions, and most of all, in our families. Before and after I became a realtor, there were events in my life that led me to these what-if questions, and these questions were hard to ignore. Housing, in particular, is an issue that will affect our fourth quarter, and there are many questions we must ask ourselves. As a realtor, I want to help people think about these questions, to explore available options, make decisions, and empower us to act before a crisis occurs. Let me tell you a story. In 2003, right after earning my real estate license, I had two different sets of clients, both in their early to mid-60s, that had to sell their house due to an illness. Now, these were my first two clients, and while some might call that a coincidence, I believe these clients led me to my purpose in real estate and life. These clients were selling their homes in a tough economic downturn. And to be honest, things were not looking great for them. They were selling their homes but would not make any money. At that time, I was in my 40s, and the thought of being in their shoes in 20 years, it was unsettling, you know? I thought, what if I had to sell my house due to an illness? Would I have options? They had not thought about what lay ahead either. As the realtor, it was my job to help them. But given their financial situations, I was lost. I would lie awake at night worrying about them, wondering how this would all turn out. Their families thought they had it all figured out, but they didn't. No one even helped them with packing or moving. This was not the joyful experience I imagined when I got into real estate. It also reminded me of my grandmother, Ma Nicey, as she was affectionately called. Let me tell you about her. She was something else. I did not get to spend a lot of time with my grandmother because she lived so far away. But when I did get time to spend with Ma Nicey, she left a lasting impression. She worked hard and loved even harder. Her smiles and warmth could just warm up a room. Years after my grandfather died of natural causes, something tragic happened. Ma Nicey was found in her home, dead. We later learned it was from a fall. And this hit us hard. The worst part about it was no one knew how long she had been lying there before she was found. Did she die immediately? Did she suffer? Was she calling out for help? Wasn't anyone checking on her? Lots of questions, but no answers. I realized that my grandmother was not prepared for her fourth quarter, and neither was our family. After my grandpa died, Ma Nicey was left alone, way in a remote area in the hills of the West Indies. We all thought and assumed she would be fine, but she was in an area that was not easily accessible, and there were no safety measures put in place. Living alone is a challenge at any age, but as we get older, it's riskier. We didn't ask her or each other any important what-if questions. Ma Nicey, what if you fall or hurt yourself way up here? What will you do? I saw a pattern emerging. We're not asking critical what-if questions about the fourth quarter of our lives, especially as it relates to our living environment. I had to learn more about this fourth quarter. I found out about a program called the Certified Senior Advisor. And this program opened my eyes to the complexities of living at this stage, such as finances, legalities, medical, and simple daily routines. I also became a certified senior housing professional, which added depth to my knowledge of seniors. It made me realize that seniors face unique challenges that must be considered when thinking about their housing needs. Managing a home alone, the risk of falling, living successfully while aging in place, dealing with conditions like dementia. There are many. The studies also showed that there are many more Ma Nicey stories. 36 million falls per year are reported among older adults, resulting in 32,000 deaths. And that's per year. These topics are rarely discussed in a real estate transaction, leaving this population sorely underserved. David Soley, author of how to say it to seniors. He writes that one of the biggest struggles seniors face is maintaining control in a world where all control is being lost. This is another lesson learned, how to help seniors maintain some control. The secret here is knowing when and how to ask the right questions. And don't procrastinate here. The sooner we start these conversations, the better. Let me tell you a story about a client turned family member, Mama Frances. She was a woman I met at one of my open houses. Her kids had been trying to get her to move closer to them for at least 8 years. She was in her 80s and just had knee surgery. Because she needed their assistance, she was now willing to at least look and consider moving closer to them. However, when Miss Frances walked in my open house, you could tell she was not the least bit impressed nor interested. I talked to her children, so I knew they were willing to update the house for her. So I asked her, Miss Frances, what would you like to see changed? She frowned at me and says, my table is not going to fit in here. Her kids held their breath and rolled their eyes. I could tell that this table was going to be a deal breaker. So I asked her, may I come see your table? The coldness in her eyes melted instantly, and her whole demeanor was now soft and warm. Someone was listening to her. I got permission from her kids and went to see this table. She enjoyed showing off her doll of a house, and I was able to find out what made this table so special. It was the first piece of furniture she was able to purchase for them as a single mom, and they had many precious memories at this table. Helping her find a home that would allow her to keep this table was non-negotiable. I knew what she needed, and I found the house. Her table would fit, and they didn't have to do any work on the house, and it was close to where her children lived. She called it her dream house. That's all I needed to hear. She was moved in without her having to lift a finger, and the house was made safe for aging in place. And she lived in this house happily in community with her kids until the end of her days. These are the intangibles that anyone who truly serves seniors works for. Before my in-depth studies, I would have never thought to ask meaningful questions. The goal is to help seniors navigate this period of their life with dignity and choices. For Mama Frances, this meant finding a house for her table. This table gave her dignity, stability, and it helped her maintain a sense of control in her fourth quarter. Let's all raise awareness about the what-ifs that may come in the fourth quarter. Everyone in this room has a unique and special way of raising awareness. We need to be discussing these things in our universities, in our communities, and most especially in our homes. In my community, My colleagues and I host seasoned conversations monthly, bringing together experts and families in transitions. It's our way to raise it's our effort to raise awareness and to provide solutions. People don't always listen or take action, so these conversations aren't always easy. People have objections about getting older, getting sick, and falling. We just don't think these things will ever happen to us. I always hear, I'm not there yet. Of course, I don't argue with them, but yes, we're all there because age is not a factor as it relates to an illness or an accident. Now we have time to get educated, equipped, and empowered with valuable conversations. If we can empower at least one family to make decisions about their wants and desires, just in case, it will be an honor to Ma Nicey. And her tragedy would not be in vain, but it would have been used to help someone else's life. So today I'm here to encourage us all to take control, consider your options, make decisions about the what-ifs that may come in your fourth quarter. It will add to your legacy, and it will inspire others to do the same. Just imagine. Thank you.